The Galactic Council convened, a grand assembly of species from across the known galaxy. Their leaders gathered to discuss the one topic that now dominated their minds: humanity. The conversation shifted with unease as they spoke of how this once insignificant race had expanded, advanced, and now stood on the brink of becoming a serious threat to the Council's dominance. "They are moving too quickly," one of the representatives, a towering, amphibious figure, rasped. "Their technology is progressing at an alarming rate. Their military is growing, their colonies spreading. If left unchecked, they will challenge the balance of power." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The humans, though young in galactic terms, had shown a remarkable capacity for adaptation, invention, and survival. More than that, their unpredictable nature made them dangerous. They weren't like the Council's member races, which operated under strict, predictable hierarchies. The humans were wild cards, capable of thinking beyond the box, driven by a need to survive at any cost. An aged council member, whose race had fought and conquered many civilizations, spoke up. "We cannot let them continue this trajectory. We must take swift action." From the shadows stepped an even older figure, clad in ceremonial armor, a representative of the Zurich. Cold-blooded and calculating, the Zurich had been the Council's enforcers for centuries. They were bred for war, merciless and efficient. Few could stand against them. "The Zurich are ready," the elder rasped. "We will eliminate their military leaders, dismantle their defenses, and crush their will to resist. They will not rise again." The Council nodded in agreement. The decision was made. The Zurich would be dispatched immediately. They would strike humanity's key figures, leaving the human military crippled. What chance did a fledgling species stand against the galaxy's most feared assassins? But the Council did not know that humanity had been expecting this. In a hidden facility deep within Earth's military compound, the leaders of the human military stood around a holographic display. The faces of the planet's top military officials were grim. They had intercepted chatter of the Council's decision. It had only been a matter of time. One of the generals, a grizzled man with steel-gray hair, spoke up. "They're coming for us. The Zurich. We knew this day would come." Another general responded. "We've prepared. The super soldier program is ready. They may think we're weak, but they'll find out just how wrong they are." Decades of secret research had culminated in the creation of the Terran super soldiers, elite warriors, engineered for combat. Enhanced speed, strength, reflexes, and tactical intelligence made them humanity's best chance for survival. They weren't just designed to be physically superior. They were designed to think differently, to adapt quickly and decisively. But more than that, these soldiers embodied something the Zurich could never understand: human ingenuity and spirit. "We've trained them for this. We've been preparing for this moment," said Commander Alex Grant, head of the Super Soldier program. He was a battle-hardened veteran, a man who had seen firsthand what the Zurich could do. But now, with these soldiers under his command, he believed that humanity had a fighting chance. "Let them come," Grant said, his voice steady. "We'll show them what humans can do." As the Zurich assassins set off on their mission to destroy humanity's leadership, the humans were already preparing their response. The Council thought they were dealing with just another fledgling race to be put in its place. But humanity was about to teach them a lesson. The Zurich had never known defeat. They believed they were invincible. But the humans were different from any enemy they had faced before. The Zurich saw war as a calculated equation, a problem to be solved with overwhelming force and precision. The humans, on the other hand, saw war as an arena where survival and adaptation reigned supreme. As the Zurich ships sped through the stars, they had no idea what awaited them. They would soon face not only human military might but the raw power of human will, the thing that had driven humanity to defy the odds time and time again. The Zurich moved with cold efficiency. Their first strike was swift and brutal, targeting key human military outposts across the colonies. Several human commanders were eliminated before they even realized they were under attack. The Zurich assassins left no trace, moving like shadows, leaving only silence in their wake. Each kill was calculated, each strike precise. The Zurich believed they were on the verge of dismantling humanity's military infrastructure with ease. On a distant human colony, the Zurich infiltrated the command center under the cover of night. They slithered through ventilation systems, their reptilian bodies perfectly suited for stealth. Reaching the heart of the base, they eliminated the entire leadership team in less than a minute. For the Zurich, it was just another mission, another civilization to bring to its knees. But things were about to change. On another colony, the Zurich attempted the same tactic, creeping into the command center, ready to repeat their success. But this time, they were met with something different. As they moved to strike, they were ambushed. A group of Terran super soldiers had been waiting for them, aware of the Zurich's methods. The Zurich, who had never encountered resistance like this, found themselves outmatched in ways they could not comprehend. The super soldiers didn't just react, they anticipated every move. Enhanced reflexes allowed them to dodge the Zurich's deadly strikes, and their strength allowed them to overpower the alien killers in hand-to-hand combat. The Zurich, used to overwhelming their targets with sheer efficiency, were now the ones struggling to keep up. Commander Alex Grant had personally led this counterattack. He knew the Zurich's tactics, and he had trained his soldiers for this very moment. "We've studied them," Grant had told his team before the mission. "We know how they fight. They think they're invisible. They're not. They think they're invincible. They're wrong." The battle was swift, but the victory was decisive. The Zurich assassins were taken down one by one, their cold-blooded nature no match for the fire and the human soldiers. This was the Zurich's first defeat, and it shook them to their core. Back on the Zurich ship, the surviving members of the assassination squad regrouped, confused and disoriented. They had never failed a mission before. The humans were supposed to be easy prey, primitive, disorganized, and inferior in every way. But these super soldiers were something else. They moved with precision, but also with an unpredictability that the Zurich could not fathom. "What are these humans?" one of the Zurich warriors hissed, the disbelief clear in his voice. "They are different," another replied, unwilling to admit that they had underestimated their prey. The Zurich began to realize they were dealing with a foe unlike any they had encountered before. Humans were adaptable. They learned quickly, and they fought with a determination that was entirely foreign to the Zurich's cold, emotionless approach to war. Meanwhile, the humans were already preparing for the next round. Commander Grant and his team analyzed the Zurich's movements, identifying patterns in their tactics. They weren't just reacting to the Zurich, they were preparing to take the fight to them. "We've seen how they operate," Grant told his officers. "Now it's time to hit them where it hurts." The humans weren't content with simply defending themselves. They had the upper hand, and they intended to use it. As the Zurich attempted more strikes across various colonies, they found themselves met with increasingly fierce resistance. The super soldiers, now fully deployed, were winning battle after battle. The humans had not only adapted to the Zurich's tactics, they had turned them against the alien assassins. In one of the largest skirmishes yet, a group of Zurich assassins attempted to infiltrate a heavily fortified human military base. They had expected a quick, easy strike. Instead, they were lured into a carefully laid trap. Human snipers picked off the Zurich from a distance, while super soldiers ambushed them at close range. The Zurich, who prided themselves on their superior combat skills, were outmatched at every turn. For the first time in their long history, the Zurich felt fear. They had never faced an enemy like this, an enemy that could not only resist them but outfight them. The Zurich were killers, bred for war, but the humans were survivors, capable of adapting and evolving in ways the Zurich couldn't comprehend. The human forces, under Grant's command, continued to strike back with a level of precision and coordination that the Zurich had not anticipated. Each battle left the Zurich with fewer resources, fewer soldiers, and growing doubt about their mission. "They're not like the others," one of the Zurich captains muttered after another failed attack. "They don't break. They don't fall like the others." The Zurich's overconfidence had been their greatest weakness. They had seen humans as just another species to be eliminated, but now, they were beginning to see the truth. Humans were not just survivors, they were fighters, capable of thinking beyond the rigid structures the Zurich operated within. The war was no longer one-sided. The Zurich had made their move, and now, humanity was pushing back, harder and smarter than the Zurich could have imagined. The balance of power had shifted, and the Zurich knew they were facing a far greater challenge than they had anticipated. As the Zurich retreated from yet another failed strike, the realization began to sink in. This was no longer a mission of eradication. It was becoming a war of survival, for both sides. Rinthor, the Zurich veteran, sat in silence within the command chamber of the ship, reviewing the data from the failed missions. His cold, reptilian eyes scanned the holographic images of the human soldiers, these so-called super soldiers, that had been unexpectedly efficient in dismantling the Zurich's carefully planned strikes. He had lived for centuries, executing countless missions for the Galactic Council, and in all that time, he had never encountered a species that resisted like this. A wave of unfamiliar emotion rippled through him, doubt. The Zurich were taught that emotion was weakness, but the humans fought with something the Zurich couldn't understand. Rinthor couldn't help but notice it in the footage, the way they moved as a unit, the camaraderie between them. It was strange, almost illogical to him. The Zurich fought as individuals, executing orders with precision. But humans fought for something more. In the next room, his warriors prepared for yet another mission. They were mechanical in their movements, emotionless as ever, sharpening weapons, reviewing plans. They trusted in the Council, in their centuries of dominance. They couldn't see what Rinthor was beginning to realize, that the humans weren't like any enemy they had faced before. This wasn't just another target. Humanity was evolving, adapting in ways that the Zurich had never encountered. He couldn't ignore that any longer. Across the stars, on Earth, Commander Alex Grant stood before his team of super soldiers, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He had trained them for this, prepared them for the fight of their lives, but even he had been surprised by the Zurich's brutality. He had seen comrades fall, some of his best soldiers lost in the struggle to defend humanity. The Zurich were ruthless, and their strikes had left scars on human colonies. Grant's mind flickered to the price they had paid. These super soldiers, genetically enhanced, physically superior, were the product of decades of research and questionable ethics. They had been designed to be the perfect warriors, but at what cost? He looked around at his team, seeing their determination, but also wondering if they were still human. The weight of leadership bore down heavily on him, especially in moments of quiet, where he questioned if humanity was losing part of its soul in this desperate bid for survival. He shook off the doubts. There was no time for second-guessing. The Zurich were still out there, still striking at human forces, and the only thing standing between humanity and extinction was the Terran super soldiers. They had no choice but to fight, and to fight with everything they had. Grant gathered his team. "We're not done," he told them. "The Zurich may be powerful, but they're not invincible. They've never faced anything like us before, and they won't see what's coming next." His team nodded in silent agreement. They had all lost friends and comrades to the Zurich's deadly strikes. This war wasn't just about survival anymore, it was personal. Back on the Zurich ship, Rinthor couldn't shake the growing sense of unease. His warriors followed their orders without question, but Rinthor was beginning to question everything. He remembered when the Zurich had first been created, designed by the Council to be the ultimate enforcers, emotionless and unstoppable. But now, for the first time, he wondered if their detachment was a flaw, not a strength. The humans fought with passion. They adapted. Rinthor had never seen a species that learned so quickly in battle, adjusting their strategies in real time, catching the Zurich off guard. And despite the humans' inferiority in terms of technology and physical capability, they had something that the Zurich couldn't seem to replicate, a relentless drive that pushed them beyond their limits. It wasn't long before Rinthor's doubts turned into a crisis. What was the Council really afraid of? Why had they ordered the elimination of humanity? Was it because of their rapid technological advancement, or was it something deeper? Perhaps the Council feared what the humans represented, the unpredictable, adaptable nature that could challenge the very foundations of the established order. As he sat in contemplation, Rinthor received new orders from the Council: prepare for the final assault on Earth. This was it, the mission that would determine the fate of humanity. But instead of feeling the usual confidence, a hollow feeling settled in his chest. What if they failed? What if the humans were more than just a nuisance to be eliminated? Meanwhile, Grant and his team were preparing for that same final battle. They knew the Zurich were coming, and they knew this was going to be the toughest fight they'd ever faced. But Grant also knew his soldiers, knew the strength they had both as individuals and as a unit. They weren't just enhanced warriors. They were human, with all the complexities and contradictions that entailed. The tension before the final battle was palpable. Grant gathered his team one last time before the fight. "This isn't just about defending Earth," he said, his voice steady but heavy with the weight of the moment. "This is about showing them what it means to be human. They think we're weak because we feel, because we care. But that's what makes us stronger than them." As the Zurich prepared their fleet for the final assault, Rinthor's internal conflict deepened. He had served the Council loyally for centuries, never questioning their commands. But now, faced with the reality of what the humans represented, he wasn't so sure. The Zurich were perfect soldiers, yes, but the humans were more than soldiers. They were survivors, thinkers, creators. Rinthor knew that in the coming battle, something would change, whether it was the destruction of humanity or the Zurich's first taste of real defeat. Nothing would ever be the same. The Zurich's flawless reputation, their centuries of dominance, was hanging in the balance, all because of one unpredictable species. As both sides prepared for the final confrontation, the question remained, which would prevail, the cold, calculated efficiency of the Zurich, or the unpredictable, relentless spirit of humanity. The Zurich fleet arrived above Earth with the precision and silence that had made them feared across the galaxy. From orbit, they could see the sprawling human cities, the bustling activity below. They had crushed worlds before, civilizations far older than humanity, and yet there was a sense of hesitation now that hadn't existed before. Rinthor, standing at the helm, felt it more keenly than any of his warriors. He was haunted by the earlier failures, the human resistance, and most of all, by the strange admiration he couldn't quite shake. The order came from the Council: proceed with the final assault. The Zurich, true to their nature, followed the command without question. Their ships descended toward Earth's surface, ready to unleash devastation on humanity. But even as the fleet began its descent, Rinthor's mind raced. He had always been a loyal servant of the Council, but now, faced with humanity's resilience and strength, he wondered if this mission was truly just. Were they eradicating a threat or eliminating something they didn't understand? On the ground, Commander Grant watched the sky darken as the Zurich ships entered the atmosphere. His super soldiers were ready. They had been through so much already, and now it was all leading to this moment. Every battle, every sacrifice had brought them here. The humans weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to prove that they couldn't be crushed by fear or overwhelming force. Grant knew his soldiers were ready, but he also knew that this battle would be unlike anything they had faced before. The first wave hit, and the battle erupted with ferocity. The Zurich struck hard, their ships unloading squads of assassins into human territory, attempting to decimate key military installations. But this time, the humans were ready. Super soldiers moved swiftly, intercepting the Zurich before they could infiltrate deeper into Earth's defenses. Skirmishes broke out across the planet, on land, in the air, in space. The war was total. Rinthor led his forces personally, entering the fray alongside his warriors. He had always been detached in battle, precise and efficient. But now, he found himself observing the humans with a strange sense of awe. They fought with such ferocity, not because they were ordered to, but because they believed in something. They fought for each other, for their future, and for their planet. It was a type of resolve that the Zurich, for all their centuries of training, could not replicate. Amid the chaos, Rinthor found himself face to face with Commander Grant. The two leaders, representing the pinnacle of their respective species, met on the battlefield. Rinthor was a creature of strategy and discipline, while Grant embodied humanity's unpredictable spirit. Their encounter was more than just a clash of physical might, it was a confrontation between two philosophies. Rinthor attacked with precision, his strikes deadly and calculated, but Grant was relentless, adapting to each move, pushing beyond his limits. For every blow Rinthor landed, Grant found a way to counter, using his environment, his instincts, and his determination. The battle between them was brutal, and it wasn't long before both were pushed to their breaking points. "You fight well, human," Rinthor hissed between strikes. "But your kind cannot win. You are chaotic, emotional. It makes you weak." Grant, battered but not beaten, replied through gritted teeth. "That's where you're wrong. It's why we're still standing. You don't understand what it means to be human. We fight because we care. That's why we'll win." Rinthor paused for just a moment, an instant of hesitation that no Zurich should have shown in battle. In that moment, Grant struck with everything he had, landing a devastating blow that sent Rinthor reeling. The Zurich leader, for the first time in his long life, tasted defeat. He fell to his knees, breathing heavily, staring up at the human who had bested him. But instead of delivering the final blow, Grant stepped back. "It's over," he said. "You've lost." Rinthor looked at the battlefield around them. The Zurich forces were in disarray. The humans, against all odds, were pushing them back. His own soldiers were retreating, unable to cope with the relentless human tactics. It wasn't supposed to end like this. The Council's voice came through his communicator, demanding that he continue the assault, that he complete the mission. But Rinthor, looking at the devastation, the lives lost, and the undeniable spirit of humanity, made a decision he had never thought possible. He refused. "Enough," Rinthor said quietly, rising to his feet. "This war is over." Grant watched as the Zurich leader, once so sure of his mission, turned his back on the Council's orders. Rinthor ordered the remaining Zurich forces to retreat. The war, at least for now, was done. Humanity had won, not just through superior tactics or strength, but through the one thing the Zurich could never understand: the indomitable will to survive and the power of their unity. As the Zurich ships withdrew, the battlefield fell silent. Grant stood among the wreckage, his soldiers around him, victorious but somber. The cost had been high. Friends, comrades, many had fallen. But Earth still stood, and humanity had proven that they could face the greatest threats the galaxy could throw at them. Rinthor returned to his ship, no longer the cold-blooded killer who had started this mission. Something had changed in him. He had seen, firsthand, what made humans different. As he stared at the stars, he wondered what the Council would do next, but he no longer cared. He had made his decision. Humanity was not to be destroyed, they were to be respected. On Earth, Grant and his team began the slow process of rebuilding. They had survived the greatest challenge of their lives, and though the war had left scars, they knew they had something the Zurich could never take from them. It wasn't just about winning a battle, it was about proving that humanity would always stand together, stronger because of their flaws, not in spite of them. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the Galactic Council watched in silence, realizing that their greatest threat wasn't humanity's weapons or technology, it was their spirit.